2015 Halloween tutorials. I'm going for the purple motif drag queen, and so this is just going to be like a basic drag tutorial for any sort of drag thing that you want to do for your Halloween. This one's going to be long and it's going to be in-depth. Get ready to learn a lot of cool techniques. And so yeah, please enjoy and don't forget to subscribe. So starting with a clean, dry face, move the wig out of the way if need be, and then just start evening out the surface that all the makeup is going to go on. To do this, we're going to glue down the eyebrows so that we can put on more drag, more dramatic ones. So to do this, take the glue stick and just start pushing the brows down using the glue stick in the direction that the hairs actually grow. This way, they're already kind of laying flat that way, and this is just going to really lay them flat. On those inner corners, they can be a little bit more stubborn, but just use more pressure and really get a lot of glue on there. Pack a lot of translucent powder on there. I usually just do that with my finger and then blend it out, and then just do the same thing to the other brow, and I left that translucent powder baking so that we can brush it off later. I also push down some of the glue with my finger just when it gets a little bit chunky, and that way we're dispersing the product a little more and using all of it to its full advantage to glue down the hair as much as we can and even out the surface of the hair with the skin. Once that's all set, do it as many times as you need to. I'm going to go in with a medium coverage concealer that has a little bit of an orangey yellow tone to cancel out some of the coolness of my brow hairs. This way that coolness isn't peeking through when we're going in with makeup. And I just blend that in using tapping motions and moving the product around that becomes excess on the brush, just around my face to blend it in with the skin. And again, tapping motions, don't swipe or else you're wiping off the glue, the translucent powder, and the concealer, and you definitely do not want that. I'm also setting those with powder just so that that's perfectly dry for when we go in with our next coat of makeup, and that's going to be the full coverage foundation that I'll be using on my, no, not the one I'll be using on my face, that's just a full coverage foundation. And then I'm also just going to use tapping motions for this, and this is what's going to finally conceal them and blend them in with the skin. The idea of the glue stick method is to make sure the eyebrows are the same texture and the same surface smoothness as the face skin, so that it's like extra skin that you can go over with makeup as if you were putting eyebrow makeup or whatever you're going to use on your face. I use the Makeup Forever Flash palette to create these purple colors that I'm going to use to make purple brows to match my wig. For the darker purple, I mixed equal parts of the pink and the blue from the palette. And then for the lighter purple, I did the same thing but added in a third equal part of the light blue. And I'm basically starting where my natural brow starts on the inner corner, and I'm arching it up hugely, basically right up to where my temple is. And then for the top part of the brow, I like to make it a little bit more flat because that just makes it look super dramatic. I fill it in with the dark purple basically all the way through. You don't need that much. I did mix a lot. It was not necessary, but I did it, so whatever. And just straighten out those lines, make them perfect, and make the brows as thick at the tail, thick at the arch, whatever you want, wherever you want. I like them to be a lot thicker in the middle and a lot thinner at the arch, especially when I'm doing any sort of dramatic eyebrow, because what this does, gives the illusion that the arch is more arched and makes it look really intense. And then for the inner corner, I'm taking the lighter purple, and you can't really tell with the lighting in this shot, but it is the lighter purple, and then just blend upward gently with the brush, so that we are creating that ombre effect. Drag queens do this to make the brows more feminine and just blend it back in using that brush. Then I'm taking a spoolie and just dispersing whatever product is chunky or isn't in the right place, anything like that, just to make sure it's all nice and blended. And then I'm taking a purple mascara and just putting that on the hairs that I couldn't glue down, just to add a little bit more to that kind of ombre, quote, natural effect. And then I'm putting a little bit of the concealer underneath just so that I can kind of push it up to the brow and carve it out. You want to be careful with this because obviously it's just cream makeup alone and nothing else, so just watch your back. Carving out the brows is always easier when you kind of lift them. I don't really know why, just try it. It will make your life a lot easier when doing that. I'm just blending it out with my finger because it's just like our first coat of concealer on top of many. I'm taking Coastal Scents eyeshadow in Edgy Eggplant, and I'm using that to set the outer part of the brow, the darker part, because it's our darkest purple eyeshadow. And I'm just using the same angled brush to create hair-like strokes.
And then I'm taking the Coastal Scents eyeshadow in Little Gray Pet, which is like a light cool tone lilac color, and I'm using that to set the inside part. I'm using the flat side of the brush. This way I can just disperse a lot of product and get a lot of deposit on there. And then this is the Coastal Scents eyeshadow in Purple Panic, which is right in the middle of the two. And I'm using that on the center as a transition shade between the lighter purple and the darker purple, just like we would with the eyes. Now I'm putting a layer of concealer all over my eyelid, taking it out to my temple, getting it all over that inner corner, and putting some on my tear duct as well, just so that everywhere we're going to put eyeshadow is covered and has a base laid down. I'm just blending that out. I'm swiping some under the eye, but mainly I'm using tapping motions. What this does is moves the product around to all the areas I need it to be, and it keeps it from having like little swipey marks from the brush. I'm just setting my eye with translucent powder and a fluffy brush. Keep the fluffy brush, set it to the side because we're going to use that later. I'm taking the shade Purple Panic again, and with this little Makeup Geek pencil brush, I'm just starting to carve out the fake crease that we're creating for this shadow look. So what I'm doing is starting on my orbital bone, tracing it down, taking it all the way to the outer corner of my eye and making a nice big semicircle shape, taking it all the way to the inner corner where my orbital bone meets my nose cartilage, and I'm just making sure to disperse the product by moving it back and forth as I go along. I'm using a light hand this entire time, barely touching my eye with the product. I'm also winging out on that outer corner, and as you can see, that wing you can trace up to the tail of my brow, and that's where you want to stop. I'm taking Little Gray Pet again, which is the lightest purple, and I'm using that to blend this out using a small fluffy brush. With looks like this, small fluffy brushes are the key. This is by Makeup Academy. It is my favorite brush I own easily. It's the Pro Crease brush. It's small, but it's fluffy, and it's perfect for getting precise looks like this, where you want to make the shadow blended, but still keep it in one controlled, precise area. I move back and forth because if I use too many circular motions, I can risk messing things up. So once I have all the purples laid down, I'll do circular motions then. But for now, just back and forth to make sure we're dispersing both the purples we've been using. Again, I'm going in and I'm deepening any product that was lost just to make sure it's even all the way through from the wing to the inner corner. I'm using the small crease brush again to blend this whole thing out. You can never blend too much, just remember that. Next, I'm taking Edgy Eggplant again, the darkest purple, and basically what we're doing is creating dimension in the crease so it actually looks like a real crease. So if it's blending up to the lighter colors, it's like shadow blending into the regular skin tone. So that's what we're doing. We're putting the darkest purple on the bottom, and this is going to create that dark shadow where a fake crease would be, and it's blending up into where our natural skin would be. And to do this, I'm taking the same pencil brush, but with only a small amount of product, and I'm making sure to just trace this along the bottom of my cut crease line. And then again, taking the Little Gray Pet eyeshadow on the fluffy brush, and I'm just blending this whole thing back and forth. Next, I'm taking MAC Kitschmiss, which is the pigment that we're going to use to be highlighting our entire lid. It's like a white, cool tone white, like off-white color with like purple reflex, I guess you could say. And I'm just going to wet my brush really intensely and dip it into the pigment so it creates like a metallic paste. And I'm just going to start filling up my entire eye with this color. Use patting motions, but since it's like a paste, you can move it side to side and just do that until your entire eye is covered. Go back and spray the brush, dip it back in as many times as you need, because obviously we're really going ham with this. The reflect of this pigment can cause it to be kind of hard to see in some spots. Like when I'm putting it on my inner corner, I can't really tell I'm putting it there because I can't tell that light's hitting there because that's where like shadow is on my face. So just make sure you're turning your head and make sure you're hitting every single spot as you carve out that crease. I'm just bringing back a little bit of the edgy eggplant color as well, just to make sure that crease, fake crease, dimension type thing I was just talking about is still there. Next, for my winged liner, I'm starting with a gel liner just to map out the shape, and then I'm going to fill it in with a liquid liner just to make it darker and more matte. But I'm using the gel liner with a really tiny angled brush, and I'm making my entire hooded lid up to my natural crease, basically my eyeliner, because we created such a big, dramatic, fake crease. So what I do is I just put the top line of my eyeliner on my lid right up to where my crease is, and I take the wing up all the way to match where I winged out the eyeshadow. I like to start by making the bottom part of the wing and then just tracing it downward, and then I just build little by little up to my crease until I'm happy. The way I like my eyeliner to look is like when I'm looking forward, I like it to look like it's straight across so that you can see the entire eyeliner and it's not hiding inside that crease. So what I do is just trace down and continue to build it with baby steps until it's like that. And then I'm just filling in the entire thing with liquid liner to make it, like I said, nice and matte and dark. This is the NYC liquid liner. It's the best one that there is, I promise. And I'm just filling in the entire thing, and you can also use this to clean up any lines. Next, I'm putting on these gigantic eyelashes that are bigger than my head. But first, I'm going to tightline my waterline with a black pencil just so that there's no natural skin, anything peeking through anywhere in this entire look. And then I'm putting on a little bit of black mascara as well that's equally as thick as the lashes. Like, I want them to be pretty clumpy just so that you can't see anything but darkness on that lash line. I'm applying them first on the outer corner. I like to wait and let that sit for a minute so that when I use the tweezers to put it on the inner corner, it's already stuck to the outer corner so I don't have to worry about anything popping off. And then I just like to push them up to adhere them just so that they're nice and dramatic and bold. And then I put a little bit of liquid liner over the band to make sure that you can't see the band. And then I'm applying under eye concealer using the same one I've been using in the whole video. And I'm tracing it all the way down in a triangle shape up towards my cheekbone so that I'm highlighting the face as I'm concealing my under eyes. Blend that out as well. Make sure you use tapping motions again so you're not taking the product elsewhere and so that you don't see swiping motions from the brush. I also move whatever excess around to parts that I might forget when I'm doing later, like in the corners of my nose and areas like that. Then I'm just using the same fluffy brush I used before with translucent powder on it just to set where it could crease, which is right directly under my eyes where my eye bags are. And then I'm going in with a white kohl pencil. This one's by Essence Cosmetics. You want a kohl pencil so that it's nice and creamy. If it's not creamy enough and you're having a hard time getting pigment on that lower lash line, if you feel comfortable with it, you can take a lighter and it'll melt and change the formula of the pencil a little bit and make it a little bit easier to work with. And I'm just filling in that entire lower lash line all the way to where my eye bag is. And what this is going to mimic my lower lash line shape like what we did with the upper crease so that we can make that like really big doe-eyed effect. I'm just taking one of those ink pen liners, this one's from Kat Von D, and I'm using that to trace out that white, so this way again we're getting that fake lower lash line that we're creating, just like we did with the crease up top. And I just like using the ink pen liner because it's easy to work with and easy to get a nice, small, precise line. Next I'm taking Kitsch Miss again, the pigment we used on the top, and I'm just filling in that entire white area. I'm not wetting the brush because we already have a cream base down. I'm just packing it on there nice and pigmented like I did on top. And now I'm taking the liquid liner just to deepen that line that I created with the ink pen liner. Again, we were just using that to map it out, and now we're darkening it, making it matte, etc. Again, slow and steady wins the race with this one too. I just use super small strokes to connect it to my top wing, and I also taper it inward so that it's thicker on the outer corner and gets thinner as you go inward. And I just trace out that line nice and small. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to blend it out with eyeshadow, but you want it to be straight. And then just hold it down while it's drying so that it's not creasing in your under eye bags. Now I'm going to take a flat concealer brush with Edgy Eggplant just on the very tip of it, and I'm just going to blend this out very lightly like it's just a very light, natural lower lash line shadow. It's just like a natural shadow on your lower lash line. And I just move this back and forth against the eyeliner, and what this does is mixes the eyeliner and the eyeshadow. It makes it so that we have that fake dimension effect that we already did on the crease up top, and just move it back and forth, and that's kind of what you're getting with that. I also move it further than I put the eyeliner so that this way it blends from darkest where the eyeliner is placed just to purples, and we have a nice gradient effect upward and downward and inward and outward. Blend it out with the small eyeshadow brush again, and also your lightest purple, just like we did on top, so that the gradient matches. And then apply bottom lashes. These are just dollar store ones, and we are just doing that so that we have bottom lashes to match the top, and also because we're making a fake crease on bottom, so we want the lashes there. I'm also taking a white eyeshadow. I'm putting this under my brow bone and on the inner corner just as a nice matte white highlight. We want a dramatic highlight to match all the other drama, and that's why I'm just using plain old white. It's super important to prime the face with a look like this because of all the thick, full coverage foundation I'm going to be going in with. So I'm using a pore filling primer all over my face, and I'm really just rubbing it in and making sure I have a nice, smooth base, like what we did with the eyebrows earlier. And next I'm applying a stick foundation. This one's from NYX. A lot of drag queens use them because they're extremely full coverage and extremely long wearing just because they're so incredibly thick. So I'm just laying this down everywhere, and I'm using a ton of it because I just want that thick, cakey face. And then I'm using a damp beauty blender to blend this out, and in my opinion it doesn't sheer it out too much, especially when I'm using a thick cream stick foundation, but it could do that for some people. Just make sure you're not swiping at all, you're just tapping all over the face using the kind of pointed part of the beauty blender on those hard to reach places. Next I'm taking Anastasia Beverly Hills concealer in the lightest shade, which is 0.5, and I'm using that to highlight the face with a small synthetic dense brush. I'm putting a huge triangle under my eyes, carving out where I'm going to contour, getting my nose, my cupid's bow, my chin, the corners of my lips, and then I'm going to make like a little triangle star type shape on the forehead. And then again with the beauty blender, I'm just blending this out just like I did with the foundation. This one you're going to want to keep in a more concentrated area, obviously, because you're highlighting a concentrated area. So I'm using the tip a lot of the beauty blender as opposed to the side or the bottom. This keeps my product in a more precise area. And next I'm contouring using 3 different shades, one for coolness, one for warmth, and one for in between. So Too Faced Chocolate Soleil, Too Faced Milk Chocolate Soleil, and NYX Blush and Taupe. And I'm just using the edge of this BH Cosmetics contour brush, first with the cool toned one to actually carve out the hollow of that cheek, and then the mid-tone one to bring it up to my temple so that there is shadows there, and then the warm one afterwards with a less, kind of a fluffier, less dense brush just to bronze the face. I wouldn't obviously be doing my forehead if I was going out, but if I did, I would just take the bronze one with the fluffy brush and I would just lightly dust it all the way around my hairline. I'm also putting it under my chin to create a nice defined jawline. And then I'm taking the mid-tone one, the Chocolate Soleil one, and I'm using this for my nose. First, I carve out the sides of my nose with like a flat concealer type brush, and then I make sure to bring it underneath the nose so that it rounds out there. And then I take it into the indents on the side of my nose just so that there's contour throughout the nose, not just when you're facing front ways. And this is where that fluffy brush with translucent powder comes in, because the translucent powder really helps to blend out the nose contour and make it so that it's not obvious that it's makeup. I'm also putting some on the cupid's bow, and I'm putting some contour under the lips to create dimension there. And then next I'm placing highlighter all over my nose, and I'm just going ham with it. I forgot to take a shot, but I'm using the Ulta Illuminator, which is just a super intense shimmery highlight all over the face. I'm hitting the chin, the cupid's bow, just tons of it on the nose. I'm going to get a big keeping glob of it on my cheekbones. And now for blush, I'm using MAC Melba. I'm just swirling this onto the cheekbones. Heavy amount of product all the way onto the apples of the cheeks. Go ham with this stuff. And then I'm taking 2 different liquid lipsticks to create an ombre. I'm using the Sephora Cream Lip Stain in Polished Purple, which is a nice dark shimmery cool tone purple. And I'm basically intensely overlining my bottom lip. As you can see my natural lip there. And then when there's less product on the applicator, I use that to kind of blend out the edges of that, as you can see that I did there. On the top, I first line my natural lip, and then on the cupid's bow, I just line it really high up and then make sure I connect the dots. So first connect it to where you just already lined, as you can see I'm doing here, and then make sure that connects the outer corner of the lip. and then make sure you go back in with another layer of product to darken that, because moving it around can disperse it a little too much. And then I'm taking Makeup Monster's liquid lipstick in Perpetrate, which is a nice cool tone lilac shade. I'm just placing this everywhere I didn't place polished purple, and then I can blend that out with my finger just using tapping motions. I also use my lips too to pat them together, and this way you have a nice ombre effect that creates the darkness on the outside and the lightness on the inside to mimic lip dimension. And that is it for your Halloween drag queen look. Choose whatever color you want as like the basis for this look and basically make it into whatever you want. You can use this for any costume, turn it into a drag queen version of what you're doing. It'll be super fun, and this is just a lot of basic drag tips. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful Halloween, and I will see you in my next one.